What's up, boys and girls? Old Uncle Toot back with you once again. Very important update today on Ethereum and the S&P 500. Why, Toot? Well, it's just doing what you said it was going to do. True, it is, but it's doing it, and it's getting to some important levels, especially that Ethereum. So stick around to the end and check that out. So without further ado, we'll just go ahead and dive right in and get into it because we got a lot to talk about. So we'll start out here on the, we'll call it macro count, the overall corrective count from the all-time high, which is WXYX, and putting in a Z. And we've been at this since before we made this pivot here. And so it's not like we just, not that that would be a problem if you saw the pivot and then went ahead and said, okay, it's probably this, but we called it before. It got a lot of shit for it at the time because it is a pattern that is not very typical in the markets. It's a low probability pattern. And yeah, I would not recommend that you sort of bank on those in real time. Why? Well, you know, and not that you have to, even if you have a low probable pattern as your primary expectation, you can wait for sort of let's say a trigger that makes it more probable before you act in a with your money sort of way, right? Which is one of the reasons why I would not recommend you to even sort of project for these things, because you got to know how to do that. And luckily for you, you're in the hands of old Uncle Toot, CWEA-M, for quite some time, and we know how to work on this market. So I got the shit, but the thing is that as you gain this experience and this knowledge of, you know, probable expectation at every single level, because there's so many that just many people don't know, and stick with me, you'll learn them, that you can see contextually when these sort of like lower probable expectation things are setting up. And, you know, like I said, you got to know your market, know the mood, the temperature, know how she's doing that day, you know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you shouldn't ask to play golf today because you can tell on her face that it's gonna get you some shit, right? So you got to know your markets and not to mention your theory, and we do. So that's why we have projected this, and we've also projected some other lower probable outcome things because we're about to do another sort of lower expectation, not nearly as bad as, I shouldn't say as bad as improbable. Well, maybe not as improbable as the multiple zigzag shown, the triple zigzag, but we're projecting that this wave we're working on is actually a C, and this is an A. We didn't have it labeled before, and we weren't exactly sure. I did say in the last video I thought this was the A of the Z, because we expect an A, B, C zigzag. I said that in the last video, but I'd never put the labels on it because we weren't sure. And we'll get to why we don't think it's necessarily this is a 3 and we're part of the one of, you know, part of this is still all part of the A. Basically just because it would be way too big. But let's go ahead and talk about the other lower expected things that we've called. They've been working out so far, besides the triple zigzag, which hasn't worked out totally yet, but it's working out thus far. And of course, that was this improbable zigzag at the time to make this X, because we called for it beforehand. And then when we got to this level and we said we were going to retrace here, that, you know, if we didn't break through it, that's when we really didn't think it was a 3, because we expected that this would be much longer than a typical 3, which is 1618 to 175. That's why I have this level highlighted, because of the context that we saw that insinuated we should see that if it's only this far, it's probably a C. And then, of course, look over here. You know, this is the mood of the market. So if we have an extended C here, is that really so crazy? No. Okay, so let's go ahead and go down to the 1 hour real quick. Well, actually, no, we need to stay on the 4, but we're gonna talk a little bit about this lower. So we left this. We didn't even talk about the next channel I put on last week because we weren't sort of in this leg yet, and we were looking at. I was saying that we were, you know, getting ready to put in that C of the flat, which we did, to make a 2, to then before we go down, right? And we talked about a couple different options, and we'll go into those and why the ones didn't work out and which one that kind of perfectly worked out did. It was only 2 options, but we left this on because this was sort of what I was one of the things I was using to target this retrace, which, you know, because it's been so important in the market, we didn't even get it. So that means to me that keep that note. That just is a sign of weakness in the market to me. So keep that in your mind when we talk about how the C down here is going to be extended relative to this A, because it's already extra weak. That's one reason. right, so now we're going to go ahead and draw the channel that we're going to use to project. And this, I always get this shit. What's your targets? What's your targets? I think people that just throw a price target on. I know that there's price action guys, order flow and all that. I don't care. Even those things shouldn't be individual price targets. People are just looking for shit to pound their chest about. I fucking hate that. And maybe you guys think that I do it because I kind of hate having to point out some of these things that I got right. But in this business, you got to. What are you doing? Play the game, I guess, really badly. Hold on, I gotta clear my throat. All right, sorry about that. So now we're going to use this as our primary really expectation for our projection. And of course, typically you would throw, you would want to see a 1-to-1, the previous wave. So the 1-to-1, the Y or the W, and they're pretty similar. We are not in log. They're pretty similar. The W is longer. So 1-to-1 down here. And then of course you want to get on your lower projections, and you would expect a 1-to-1 A. But of course, we've already talked about how this A was short, and then how we think that this C is going to extend, right? So we're already fast approaching that 1-to-1, and we're going to say that we don't think it's that. So we're going to go ahead and throw on the relationship that we've seen in C so many times in this down move. Of course, they've typically been to the upside, but still, we have strong C's. These are pretty 1-to-1. This A was actually longer, but this was much swifter. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and throw the 1618 on because, again, we've already said we think it's going to extend, and that would bring us closer to the 1-to-1 of the W, or I'm sorry, of the Y, and that would also bring us closer to the channel low. So this is our confluence area. This is sort of where we're targeting. Okay. Now let's just quickly get into projections from what we've got. And before we do that, we'll go ahead and talk about the scenarios on this degree that we were talking about last weekend. Of course, we called the short from here. And then I said, go ahead and you're going to want to take profits on those shorts when we were about here. It did go down a little bit more at open, this to be exact, but then it zoomed up for that C. And this is what I said. Of course, remember, I was sort of shooting for that median that's off the chart now. I think it was probably close to right around here, maybe not even that high. I think it was about that area. Actually, yeah, because it was right in line with this. It was a nice little confluence area. I thought that that's where it would get kicked around. Little did I know it wouldn't even come close to making it there to be kicked around there. But we'd said the primary expectation that we were working on a, what was it, 335. And that's all it was. And this is a little different than the one that we showed because of the way it unfolded, but that's what it was. Posted along Sunday evening after the video on Twitter for a potential setup, right? And before open. And then, and it said, if things work out correctly at open, this could be a trade. Well, that trade didn't happen at open, but guess what? A different long trade did. And of course, some dude on Twitter with much bigger following me, I don't know how the hell he saw my post, was like, it's going down, which it did, because it went down after I posted that a little more. Then the different long trade happened that I said, right? At open. So it still was the same idea. And I kind of gave him shit about it. You can go check it on Twitter. But it's like, and he's like, because he's using his macro bias to assume that my little 5-minute chart that I posted, it's like, dude, I trade both ways inside of the macro count that I have going down. Don't think because I say that, take this long trade, that I think that the bottom's in. Okay. I hope he's the only doofus because he doesn't follow me, but he did follow me actually, so I kind of feel bad. I know you're not watching this video, homie, but if you do, I'm sorry. It was a doofus move, but you're not a doofus because you follow me. You're cool. Anyway, that C happened. All right, that was a nice tangent, but and remember the other thing that we were talking. That's how that pitchfork got moved last week, by the way. But I thought it had been locked anyway. The other thing that I said would be totally screw you. This C screwed you out of your short down here, right? Because if you're trading futures or options, and you went short options or futures at the open, this fucked you. You weren't listening to a little toot. That's what I was talking about. Anyway, of course, if you're, taking it on spot or, just shares, you're not as screwed. But not obviously shares of the S&P. You'd be in the SPY, but that's neither here nor there. We'll save that for the old Discord, right? The other thing that would totally have screwed you is if we put in a C that went up to here. And I said that that was not as likely, but, you know, I was worried about it because it would have been the maximum screw me over. But that's not what happened. So here we are. We put in our A, B, C. We put in our 2. Very strange one. Agreed. Oh, that's right, because that's right. I forgot. That's right. I forgot. It's strange. This is a running flat. By the way, a rare pattern. You know, super expanded B, truncated C. This is what I'm thinking that it is. It's just because a zigzag doesn't really work here. Unless, does a zigzag work another type of way? I mean, we could be in some sort of diagonal. That could be a thing. But I don't think that's the case. So we're going to go ahead and roll with this. But we'll be aware of it, right? We always want to be aware of where we could be wrong. And if it is a diagonal, then it's pretty much turning around here, going back to here. So if this happens, then our idea that I'm going through right now is totally fucked. It's wrong. Not totally fucked, but it's still going to keep going down. But this would be like a 2 to here and then continue down to work on a diag, right? Because it'd be like WXY 1, 2 likely, right? So I don't see a bottoming here. Is that big flat still in play? Hold on, let's talk about this. Shit, it is. Oh boys, I just noticed this. That big flat that I just said could totally fuck us. That thing's still in play. Because when this finishes, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3. And what do we have here? Really, 1, 2, 3. You know, if it's not this, the count that I have here that I'm going to stick with, even though running flat. Either way, it's kind of like you're in that land of lower probable expectation. This could just be Fed fear that does get bought up tomorrow. That makes your boy nervous. This flat, the bigger flat that I was talking about, A, B, C, totally still in play. Well, I drew that awful high. Damn, that's rough. That is rough. Also, another thing to note here, that short algo that we took over here, it just you know, it's just his price target. So that means if it had short shares, it's selling those back, or which would mean buying them back at this lower price, which could increase price, right? So that's still in play. Damn. All right, glad we're doing this video. All right, never forget. Let's just say never forget this C, right? Never forget. Damn. And look, we're diverging so much. Divergence, divergence, divergence. Divergence. Oh, I hate to stop. Okay, let's just go ahead and finish out this idea of this kind of like what I'm thinking of now is like a stupid ass running flat. Now you got me in real time going over my thoughts. Anyway, okay, so if this is 1, 2, this is gonna be 1, 2, working on 3. 1, 2, 3 of 3. So we do want to see this thing get nice and extended. It's already ripping. Yeah, we broke beneath this channel or this median. Okay, so we're actually already at the high probable area for the 3. I'd love to see it rip through that even more. To have confidence in the count. Obviously I don't want to see the market tank, but I don't really care. But I know that some people this hurts. 3. This wouldn't even, so that would be short as hell. Let's just project this out where we would want a 3 to be, yeah, all the way down here. So this would have to be a 1 of the 3 up to here, more divergence, bounce back up to here, 3, 4, 5, something like that. 4, 5. So this is the 3, and this is the, you know, these subwaves are lower degree, and this is the larger 4 or 5. That's how this projects out, and I would typically go into more thought and detail on how to project that out and stuff, but now your boy's wondering about this other ultimate fuck me count. Definitely holding overnight, so gotta love that. We'll just have to see how it plays out. Keep that in mind. Once we break this level, we break this level here, where this, so that is 39.25-ish, 39.27, something like that. Break that level. I kind of think that this has to become your primary. So keep an eye on that. If not, we turn up here, go back down, more divergence. Then we're just coming up for a two of the 3. And then we're going to have a nice extended 3. And we'll finish down in this area where we've been expecting to finish. Right now, there's no, and we'll project this out as it plays out more, and we'll adjust on the fly, right? We'll stay agile, keep our antennas up, I like to say. But right now, we're still in this, and this is the 50 to 618, right? In this zone of the whole thing, right to the high probable expectation on a wave 2, which I do believe this is. And then, boys, it is off to the moon. Trying to make this bigger, sorry. Then it's off to the moon. Oh, and I wanted to make it green. Boom. Dilly. All right, let's talk ETH real quick. Okay, so I made my ETH bottom is in video, right? And of course, this is showing what I thought at the time when I went back and looked at it, a shittier account, which, you know, of course is on the table, but this is not the primary expectation at this point. I mean, it's just so ugly when you have such a kind of like beautifully finished zigzag here. I did post this to Twitter. One of the members was like, what about that chart? And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that chart. What happened is I looked at a blank ETH chart on some shit exchange, and when I did that, I just triggered like, damn, this was a biased count because I had the Bitcoin count going further lower, right? That you know, that I just totally overlooked this completed zigzag here, and that, you know, I was willing to sort of, this is sort of one of those iffy, could be a motive wave, could be a corrective wave, waves off the low, ones often are like that, right? So I was kind of like happy to say, okay, it's a corrective, and overlook this based on my bias because I didn't have a blank chart to look at. Looked at a blank chart and it's like, damn, perfect zigzag. It's hard to bet against that, especially when you have what looks to be a 5-wave move off the low. So that's how we got to the primary count, which is at the bottom is in. I'm just not on that chart right now, on that other shit exchange. But I said, when I made that bottom is in video, I said, yeah, bottom's in, but we're going to go down like 25 to 35 more %. Well, and that was like right here, right when I was saying that. It was literally at this high. And that was the time I was saying, hey, it's about to go down. Same thing with S&P is at that high. You know, I was saying we're going to go down, and we did. But look, it's at 32% right now. So this has developed quite quickly. Bitcoin has not made a new low yet. And, you know, sort of my justification for this when people press me on it, because, you know, you members always do, and I like it. I love you for it. That's what keeps me on my toes. That's what made me, is what I think one of the best in the world of this theory, is because you guys are always asking questions. And, you know, you guys come and go over the years, but love you for it. Anyway, my justification is, you know, 30% down on Bitcoin. I showed you guys this in video, or would have made a new low. But Bitcoin, well, let's just go ahead and pop over to Bitcoin real quick. What's going on with this? Yeah, that's on my recording. What is this, Trading View? Why is this over here? This should be over here. What are you doing? All right, let's load. Actually, I have ETH Bitcoin right here. So this is the Bitcoin count. It looks like it's underway. I mean, this is not what I'd like to really see on the 3, but you know, it has not gone down 30%. It only went down 19, and it's not even quite at the low. So if that keeps going down, it's going to continue to pressure Ethereum. Oops. It's going to continue to pressure Ethereum, and maybe, just maybe, we get down here in this deep zone, because we do have the 1-to-1 right here. I remember at one point in the video, by the way, I want to apologize. I said 1400, that I liked 1400. That was a mistake. I don't know what I was looking at the time. Because obviously the projection would have been down to here, you know, into the 1-to-1. I think I just misspoke. I had my mouse in a certain area. Because I don't think about price that much when I do targets. I just think about what I see on the chart. So sorry about that, if anybody caught that. I was wondering why I said that. I just happened to think about it because I remembered seeing the video, and then I was looking at the chart, and like the projections, like, wait, that's not 14. Why did I say that? Anyway, 1-to-1 is, yep, this is drawn correctly. It's down here, so we're not quite to 1-to-1. That's below the 65, which we've already gotten below. You know, maybe we need to creep down to the 786, make a deep 2, which sort of, when that happens, or, you know, or that blue count that's on this chart is right, which I don't like, but it could be. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to add this. I just wanted to open it. No, I didn't want that anyway. I wanted the, there it is. We're kind of getting into the volume here now. Yeah, we're just getting into this volume. The 786 is sort of on the lower side of it. Oh wait. Oh, what did you put this line here for, too? Maybe that's what I was thinking. The deep low side target was on my chart at one point. This is an important level. That's why it's marked. So maybe we even get down that far, 1093, somewhere between this range and here. If that giant screw you over flat happens, which I'm super worried about, over here, this one, because obviously you see how this chart, how the S&P has been reacting, and then how crypto's falling, right? They do diverge, but they're quite lockstep these days. If that screw you over count happens, bottom could be in right now. But if not, this count could be totally blown up. But really, you can't throw this one away. You know, normally we get past 65. You know, I would be totally bashing the idea of longing, but I can't bash it now. It's not, let's see. I don't know if it's something, well. Whoa. 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 3 4 5. Wow. Yeah, this thing really could be finishing up right here. Oh boy, divergence. Yeah, I can't bash you for longs below the 65, but you're right to the target here. Oh shit. I said at the end of the last video I was gonna look at a long. Took it, by the way. Got stopped out. Lost money on that one. Just so you know, don't win them all. Don't lose that many these days, but definitely don't win them all. And that was not one of the ones that I would recommend you to take, right? Remember, I showed you last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? No, it was last week, I believe. You saw how I think you guys should trade Elliott if you're newer. Which this is kind of one of those ways right now. This one is kind of setting up for that. Although you're beyond the 65, so you're not meeting all your conditions that we talked about already. But you are right at that area that you can set up. You can set yourself up for pretty good. You know, if I were to let's just really legit talk about how I would actually trade this if I'm going to long this, how I'm going to do it, which I don't typically like to do on YouTube. But 3, I think this is a 4. We got another leg down to come, but you know, we're down here on the 5 minute, and if you look out here, like, this is something that sets up on the 4 hour, right? So, you know, if you want to be safe about it, you sort of take the long now, right? And then you set your stop down here, and then you set your target for up here. This is the safe, smart way to do it. 7 to 1. That's huge. It's not the way I'm gonna do it. That's, you know, that's the way you should do it. Like, I'm not telling you should do it this way. You got to practice to do things like this, and you got to be willing sometimes to, let's say, take a little loss leader, take a little loss on it and go back in. But you can sort of say, all right, I'm going to wait for, not enter now. Remember I said the safe play was just go ahead and get in, not wait for another leg lower, because that can always screw you. And you made perfect contact with this channel, but don't see a complete resolution within this wave here, which I said is a 5th wave, right? So I would want to just go ahead and place an order here, right? Let's say here, just for, I personally would need to see it play out, but we'll just say that I'm going to go in here. That's not green enough. Let's actually make it, no. What's going to stand out on this damn chart? Too many freaking laser beams. Bright green. Okay. Bright green. And it's kind of, there we go. Get rid of the opacity. Yes. Opacity? Okay. Opacity? Just kidding. All right. So we would go along here and we would set our stop. We'd probably set our stop down there. So we'll just say, and I'll zoom out and refine that. And really it would be an eye test stop. That's the way it would be, an eye test in and eye test out. This is the way I pick these type pivots. And then I'm hoping that I get a reaction quickly so I don't have to babysit it freaking forever. Let's go back out to 2 hours. Okay. And this is obviously, again, this is just a potential way to set it up because I do it in real time. And then, so you're looking at something like this. That, you know, overall, your goal then becomes this, right? 30 to 1. But I can size appropriately to where, and you guys see me talk about this all the time, where I'm talking about kind of bigger moves, but then we get a move like this, and something doesn't look right, or, you know, it's not perfect. And I say, well, I went ahead and I took. I like to say that I took profit. And this is, you know, when you're sizing for this loss, that's still like a 5 to 1 right in there, right? So maybe 3 to 1, whatever it is, 1 to 1 even, but it's not, but it's 3 to 1, right? So that's still a 3 to 1, which remember I said what the minimum is. So you start seeing the 3 to 1, it doesn't look right, and that's a normal trade sort of risk to reward that's like a nice profit, right? It's like not full, which is this, but it's a normal full. So if you've ever heard me talk about those things and not understood what I meant, wasn't mean to be vague, but that's what I mean, because sometimes you're kind of shooting for these. I don't expect these to happen. So, you know, when these set up, but it's because it's nice. You can come in here and get your little 3 to 1, and then you can you sort of have, and then it gets in your direction. And then you've got a target up here, and you've got like, okay, I've got my trading direction and my trading, you know, target, and I can just get in and out and in and out, or it goes right in your direction immediately. You move your stop up to where you entered, you know, let's just say it jumps up to, you know, let's just say it jumps up to here. Okay. And you know, nick my stop or nick my entry, went up to there. Okay. Move my stop up to entry. It's a free trade. Fuck off. Don't even think about it. That's, you know, those are the ones where you can like really not have to, like, because in and out's great, but it can end up costing you money if it does end up ultimately doing what you expected. So that's how I would trade it. And I'm probably going to take a look at doing just that. Yep. Because this looks pretty nice. It's worth being stopped out. And again, on those little tiny ones, sometimes you do get stopped out and you're like, all right, let me try again. You got to kind of have to potentially take a couple stops to get the big, you know, in. And a lot of times you can also just, you know, you don't have to position for a full stop loss amount. Now I'm getting really into detail. This is stuff for the Discord, but you know, you can position yourself to where if you have to take a couple paper cuts, they're not full size paper cuts. All right. This is 30 minutes today, boys, and I kind of rambled, but I think it's an important video, and I don't know. I think it was a good one. All right, boys, do it out.